Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin from the Win, and we're back for another edition of Diablo 3. Today on the channel, we are taking a look at the Thorns of the Invoker set armor. Okay, what does it do? 2-piece bonus. Your Thorns damage now hits all enemies in a 15-yard radius around you. Each time you hit an enemy with Punish, Slash, or block an attack with Thorns, your Thorns is increased by 2 seconds, 90%. This effect stacks up to 10 times. 4-piece bonus. You take 50% less damage for 20 seconds after damaging an enemy with Bombardment. 6-piece bonus, the attack speed of Punish and Slash are increased by 100% and deal 67,500% damage of your Thorns to the first enemy hit. If you can tell already, this is a Bombardment Crusader build. It is a bit more tanky than what the Akan build is. Okay, we're also going to be using the Captain Crimson set on here in case you need a refresher as to what Captain Crimson does. Here it is, 6,000 life per second, reduces cooldown of all skills by 20%, reduces all resource costs by 20%, damage dealt is increased by your percentage of cooldown reduction, and then damage taken is reduced based on your cost reduction. We're going to be using Focus and Restraint for the rings. We're also going to be using Talisman of Akan in conjunction with the Breastplate of Akan. That way we can get the 2-piece bonus for Akan, which I will bring up here in a second once I show you Breastplate of Akan. What it does is reduce the cost of all abilities by 50% while Akarat's champion is active. So like I said before, this is a tankier version of Bombardment Crusader. We're using Flail of the Chart as well. As you can see here, increase duration of Steed Charge by 2 seconds. And on top of that, when you activate your Steed Charge, gain 4,000% increased damage while using it. Okay, so that is how this is set up in terms of the armor. Now let's move on to the actual skills you're going to be using. Primary, Slash, Bombardment, Barrels of Spikes because we're using Thorns, Iron Skin, Reflective Skin, Akarat's Champion, Prophet, Condemn, Reciprocate, or Vacuum, depends on your personal preference, Steed Charge, Spike Barding. For the passives, Heavenly Strength, Iron Maiden, you also want Finery, as well as Indestructible. Okay, Kanai's Cube, Mortal Drama, Belt of the Trove, and the Ring of Royal Grandeur. Obviously, very important. For the follower, honestly, Broken Crown, Nemesis Bracers, and A Flavor of Time. That is really all you're going to need for your follower. Goldskin is pretty good as well to use. You just want extra abilities that you wouldn't normally be able to fit into your build thanks to using the follower. This only works, obviously, if you're playing single-player campaign, however. Alright, for the purposes of this showcase, we will be doing a greater of 60, 65, 70, and 75. The reason for this is for the newer Diablo 3 players who will probably be just starting out their seasonal journey and will want to know how to complete maybe up to Tournament 13 or how well this armor will do on Tournament 13 if this is an armor that takes to their liking. If you're a hardcore Diablo 3 player, you pretty much already know what you're doing. However, this guide can help you as well. So keep that in mind. Remember, this is a build. It's a recommendation, a suggestion. It's not the end of the be-all. So, for this particular armor, which varies from the Bombardment Crusader that I use with Akan, is the fact that you are going to be relying a lot more heavily on not only your bombardments, but your Punish, which is basically Slash, or I should say your Slash. We're using a Slash attack. So, what you want to do is, obviously, your bombardments are going to drop naturally. The first thing on the Greater Rift that you are going to want to do is activate your Iron Skin. Anytime that you see mobs that are coming towards you, that is when you're going to want to use your Slash. Remember, every time you use your Slash, you have your 2-piece bonus that gets activated, which increases the amount of Thorns damage within a 15-yard radius of you, which on top of that stacks up to 10 times. And then keep in mind that because we're activating Iron Skin and we're using the bombardments as well, that there's a lot of damage that's being dealt. Thorns damage in general, which makes your bombardments even more powerful. So your damage rotations, for all intents and purposes, with this particular armor set, are always going to be Iron Skin. Make sure you have your Iron Skin active. Also, make sure you have your Akarat's Champion active when possible. Anytime you see enemies coming towards you, activate your Slash. Your bombardments will drop naturally. If you feel like you're going to take a lot of damage, feel free to activate your Reciprocate because you can send back that damage as Thorns, which is very, very, very important for this build. This build is not, repeat, this build is not as powerful in terms of damage output as the Akarat's Champion Bombardment Crusader. If you are looking for the Akarat's Champion Crusader build, I covered that towards the very end of Season 23 of Diablo. In fact, it is available in the playlist. So if you click on my playlist with my Diablo free videos, you will be able to find that with ease. That one is more powerful, but you are not as tanky. This one is more tanky and will allow you maybe to push a little bit better if you feel like you are struggling with the Akarat's Champion. In order for optimization of this armor, however, to be able to do the things that you see that it is doing in this video, the first thing you want to focus on, repeat, the first thing that you're going to want to focus on is having your thorns maxed out wherever possible. The more thorns damage that you have on all your pieces of gear, the more damage you will be able to do. So if you do not invest in thorns and optimize for thorns first, you will not be able to take the hits that you are taking or deal the amount of damage that you are doing. Right after you get your thorns optimized on every piece of armor, the next thing you should be focusing on is cooldown reduction. Why? Because the amount of cooldown reduction that you have will make your Captain Crimson more powerful based on the 2-piece as well as the 3-piece bonus. So you want to then invest in cooldown reduction, 8.0% wherever possible. Never once, repeat, never once should you forego having thorns for cooldown reduction. If that is the case, get yourself a better piece of gear because you need cooldown reduction and thorns. Maximum optimization for this to work appropriately. Then, after you get cooldown reduction everywhere where possible, things I would recommend focusing on, but you have to get those types of optimizations done first, is I would put on the helm 6.0 crit hit chance. On your gloves, I would recommend these free stats, which are crit hit damage 50%, attack speed at least 6.0%, but preferably you would want that at 8.0%. And then subsequently, you will want critical hit chance at 6.0%. Those three things will tremendously increase your attack stats. So you could do things like you just saw here. 3 minutes and 38 second clear time on Greater Rift 60, which is very, very good and very, very fast for a non-optimized armor. By non-optimized armor, I mean most of this armor doesn't have ancient legendary gems augmented into its armor slots at level 80. Now, going back to optimization further, what you're going to run for your legendary gems is very simple. Bane of the Trap, Bane of the Stricken, and then you would want to run a Boreski's Chip. Why not Goaka Swiftness? I know this is probably going to come up in the comments. Boreski's Chip gives you increased amount of Thorns damage. Remember, the set's armor itself is called Thorns of the Invoker, which means subsequently that you are going to want to have more Thorns damage. You want more Thorns, you deal more damage. You can take more hits. It's that simplistic, guys, in terms of that. That's why you don't run the Goaka Swiftness. If you really wanted to, and you're desperate to get more cooldown on your bombardment, which I think you have just enough cooldown if you were following my advice and putting cooldown reduction on pieces of your armor wherever you can apply it, if you wanted to, in theory, run the Goaka Swiftness, you would have to take out either the Bane of the Stricken or the Bane of the Trap. If you're going to go that route, I would say probably Bane of the Trap over Bane of the Stricken, but you're not going to like really the end result, in my personal opinion, because the thing about Bane of the Trap or Bane of the Stricken is Bane of the Stricken, the more times you attack, increases the stack damage, and you can deal more damage to the mob. Particularly the Rift Guardian. You don't really want to do that, because if you take that away, when you get to the more tanky Rift Guardians towards the higher Greater Rifts, we're talking not Greater Rift 65 like you're seeing here, but Greater Rift like 75 plus, you're not going to be able to hit things and do a lot of damage, and it's going to take longer to kill Rift Guardian. I don't recommend that. So, you could, in theory, take out the Bane of the Trap. The one reason I don't personally like to take out the Bane of the Trap for Goaka Swiftness here is because when you level up Bane of the Trap to level 25, it automatically has a chance to cast slow on its own naturally, because that's one of the added bonuses of leveling it up to level 25. So I don't recommend that, because it's nice to be able to slow enemies just through that. means of progression. When your bombardments are dropping naturally, there's a chance of targets being slowed that way as well. So I don't really think it's worth giving a little extra cooldown reduction there to be able to get a nice passive ability that can help you tremendously out in the long haul, in the long term. So definitely don't do that. Again, same strategy as before. When you get into the Greater Rift, you're going to want to go Akarat's Champion, Iron Skin. When enemies come towards you, you are going to want to use your Slash. Obviously, the first attack has an increased amount of damage. Every other one after that is not going to have as much increased damage, but it's going to help just with the stacks as well. So keep that in mind. Bombardments are going to drop naturally. I would recommend holding on to your regular bombardment attack for when you see either like a large area of mobs that are densely populated and you think maybe that's not going to be very helpful, or you can't like get rid of the mobs naturally, then you would save that bombardment, have it drop down, and you take care of either the Rift Guardian or like stuff that's too tanky and you feel like maybe you're going to get overwhelmed. Other than that, you really don't want to click your bombardment too much unless you feel like your bombardments suddenly just stop dropping for whatever reason. In my experience, sometimes if you're not very aggro, which means very aggressive, and you're not attacking a lot of targets, the bombardments will just stop dropping naturally because it's just like it forgets to do so. So keep that in mind. Alright, let's see. This is one of those maps you could easily get lost on. Okay, I gotta go that way. Alright, so again, the damage rotations for this are going to be Akarat's Champion, Iron Skin. Always make sure that your Iron Skin is active, because if it's not active, you're not dealing increased amount of damage. You're not getting the most optimized element of your 6-piece bonus as well as your 4-piece bonus. So you definitely always make sure your Iron Skin is active. Always, when you can, make sure to put your Akarat's Champion active. I have my Akarat's Champion here, as you can see, and Iron Skin ready to go. I'm going to click it here in a second. I don't want to click it too soon because, as you can see, I have a possibility of getting squashed here if I just go to my passes right now. Or not my passive, my ability. Okay. They're saving it also for the Rift Guardian, obviously. Let's go. Akarat's Champion, Iron Skin. I dropped one slash, and as you saw, it imploded just from those increased attack bonuses. That's why sometimes it's important when you're at the end of the Rift to kind of save an Akarat's Champion, Iron Skin, just in case. I'm leveling up the Bane of Powerful. This is something I will augment later on into our armor piece. Now, ideally, to make this armor even better, what you will want to do is have every piece of the armor Ancient Legendary or Primal Ancient Legendary. Then you would want to augment Legendary gems that you're not using, that you've been leveling. Hold that for a second. Let's see the clear time, 4 minutes, 17 second clear time. That's pretty good. The dungeon layout wasn't necessarily that good. But getting back to my previous thought, we're going into a Greater Rift 70 now, so you can see on Torment 15 what it looks like and how well it performs. Getting back to that thought, though, what you want to do is augment all your pieces of armor that are Ancient Legendary, Primal Ancient Legendary, with Legendary gems that you're not using. My recommendation, I would recommend level 80 gems for the start, and then if you have level 100 gems, you drop in level 100. Level 100 gems, ideally, you're probably not going to be able to level gems until you're getting into Greater Rift 100, no, not even 100, Greater Rift 110. That's roughly when you're going to be able to start augmenting for gems that are level 100. Ideally, level 100 gems is the way to go, but to get to the Greater Rift 100, you need to augment with Greater Rift, or Legendary gems that are level 80. So, keep in mind, you can always augment a piece that was already augmented and overwrite the stats on that. The only problem, obviously, is you're giving up a gem, but if you're playing a lot of Diablo 3 and grinding a lot, that isn't necessarily a problem because people want to get highly reward placement. Now, where exactly does Thorns of the Invoker fall in terms of the Diablo 3 tier listing? Honest opinion here, guys. This is kind of a mid-tier armor. I'd put it somewhere on B tier. The Akarat's Champion version, although taking a lot more hits and not as tanky, does a lot more damage even when optimized, and it just does things slightly better. This is good if you're just trying to push things and you've been having a problem, or you want to be more tanky, or you want to incorporate Slash and have Slash deal more damage, or if you feel like you're foreign damage, you want to go for more focused that way. That's what this armor is good for. Akarat's Champion is better for speed farming and just speeding through Greater Rifts. The only problem with that one is it's less tanky, which means that it has less room for error. And as you go higher up in the Greater Rifts in particular, you have a tendency that there is a more higher probability that because the mobs are not only more tanky but deal more damage to you, that you can get squashed. So that's going to affect your clear time. However, Akarat's Champion variation, which I do have in the playlist, just check on the playlist. I did it towards the tail end of Season 23. You could take a look at it, and that is probably the more beneficial build if you want to go fast. If you're looking for something a little bit more different, or you want a tankier bombardment that implements slash in particular, or punish, or any of those particular resource generating skills, this is probably the armor that you're looking for and the particular build that you're looking for. Now, in terms of how far this can go in Greater of Progression, fully optimized, where you have your cooldown right, you have your cooldown reduction, you have your Thorns all maxed out in the appropriate stats, you have crit hit chance, crit hit damage, crit hit ratio, a little bit of attack speed. Maybe you were able to put 15% on Bombardment or Slash or Punish or whatever skill you're using. And you have all your pieces augmented with Ancient Legendary Gems at least level 80. Preferably higher up would be level 100, I would recommend. You could, in theory, if you're good enough and you know what you're doing and you play carefully, be able to push Greater Rift 130 solo. 135 would seem very doubtful in my personal opinion, but it is doable depending on the type of player that you are and how much time you've invested. Again, your stats super perfect. Remember, Diablo 3 is a marathon, it's not a race. As you see, I popped that Rift Guardian at Greater Rift 70 with ease. Why? Because I say the Akarat's Champion, the Iron Skin, the Slash alone just does a whole bunch of damage still as you're on this particular Greater. Again, I'm just leveling random gems here that I'll use for augmentation further down the line. In a group of 4, it is possible to do a Greater Rift 150 with this armor with a group of 4. I don't want to be the pessimist in the room, but I have to be a realist really here. In a group of 4, you're probably going to be slowing down the other players. Okay, this is Greater Rift 70 Torment 15 difficulty. You saw 3 minutes and 36-second clear time, which is very, very good, again, for non-optimized armor. So you can see this does very well with just like 2 or 3 augments in the pieces on Torment 15. Now we're doing Greater Rift 75. This is going to be the last Greater Rift that I do for today. Same strategy as before. Akarat's Champion. I got to click my Iron Skin, but you want to click your Iron Skin as well. There's a lot of enemies that are flooring me right in the beginning. Okay, we finally got our Iron Skin activated. You're going to use your Slash. You're going to use your Bombardments. You're going to keep an eye on Akarat's Champion, your Iron Skin. Use your Reciprocate whenever you feel you're taking a lot of damage. Remember, we're a tanky build, so we can take a whole bunch of hits, and then we fire all that back and forth damage. And this armor loves to do things with its foreign damage, so that's what you want to do. Now, like I said, a group of 4, I feel like if you were using this armor, you're probably going to be slowing down your partners somewhat significantly because you're not packing as large of a punch as the Akarat's Champion one. So I'd say, depending, if your partners maybe are slightly carrying you, it's possible to do in a group of 4 Greater F-150s, but I don't think this is the type of bombardment build you should be doing for Greater F-150s. I think the Akarat's Champion, my personal playtesting and experiences with this armor, would be more beneficial to use, guys, to run that one. Now, again, mid-tier armor, you're not going to see this dominating the leaderboards. We don't know yet if this is going to be the starter set for Diablo 3 in Season 24. As you're very well aware, Season 24 of Diablo 3 doesn't start till the 18th of July. This was recorded on July 9th. That means there's now roughly 5-6 days away from the next Diablo 3 chapter. They have not told us what the starter sets are as of this recording, which was July 9th. Ironically, every time I make these videos and I record this stuff, Blizzard loves to troll me, and then automatically, like 2 hours after I've recorded the video, will then say, these are the starter set armors for this season. It always happens without fail. Don't worry, Blizzard. I still love you for that, even though you give me a really rough time when you drop those things afterward. But if this was the seasonal journey armor, what you would need to do, obviously, first, is I recommend doing a lot of bounties because you're going to need a lot of cachets. You have a possibility of getting Captain Crimson's for cachets. When you do a lot of bounties, naturally, also, you have a high probability of running into goblins, which give you plants. In order to craft Captain Crimson, you need plans. Without Captain Crimson, this set's not going to do as well. If this was also your seasonal journey armor, and you're new to Diablo 3, what you want to do is complete your Seasonal Journey 2 chapter, your Seasonal Journey Chapter 3 chapter, and your Seasonal Journey Chapter 4. Every time you complete a chapter of the Seasonal Journey, you are guaranteed to get a Hadred's Gift. Each Hadred's Gift will give you 2 pieces of the armor. So on Chapter 2, Seasonal Journey complete, you get 2 pieces. On Chapter 3, you get another 2 pieces. On Chapter 4, you get the last 2 pieces. You're always guaranteed to get a full set of the set armor that is the starter set for the season. You are not guaranteed ancient legendaries to spawn from that. Sometimes it's very rare that you'll see that. Subsequently, you're not going to see primal ancient legendary versions of the Hadred's Gift to drop. The only way that would potentially happen is if you did a Greater Rift 70, where somebody in a group with you cleared a Greater Rift 70 and carried you the whole way, and you completed it, and then you would have a chance of primal ancient legendaries dropping. Naturally, in order to see primal ancient legendaries drop, if you're playing as a seasonal character, you need to be able to complete a Greater Rift 70. I don't even know if you could do it with a group. I think you actually have to do it, to my recollection, solo. So, idealistically, primal ancient legendaries are not going to drop for you in Hadred's Gift. So don't, like, try to keep re-rolling and trying to save scum or whatever to try to get those stats like that. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Give up the dream. You can't have it drop that way. So, we got to get that out of the way, because I know somebody might in the comments be like, well, you could get... No, not really. You can't. And you're not going to be able to clear Greater Rift 70 without, like, some type of godly set armor before this one. And even then, it's kind of counterintuitive. You always want to just kind of get your starter set armor fast so you can do better grinding more efficiently. So, next up, how would you get the Flare of the Charge? My personal recommendation, do 2 hours of Greater Rift grinding. 2 hours of Greater Rift grinding, you're going to run into the Flare of the Charge set easily. In a 2 hour thing that you're doing maybe Greater Rift runs where you're able to clear Greater Rift at like 3-4 minutes, you're going to see a lot of this drop. It might not be Ancient Legendary. You could re-roll it if you want, or whatever, so on and so forth. But if you're just trying to get the early starts of this particular armor, it's very easy. Very easy. Just do like 2 hours of Greater Rift grinding, 3-minute clear time. You're going to do in 2 hours, if you're really good at it and you know what you're doing, you should maybe be able to do 40, 50 Greater Rifts in a row. In 40 or 50 Greater Rifts, the mathematical probability, just based on the way RNG works, is very, 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 very significant that you are going to see the Flare of the Charge set drop that way. So, that's my recommendations as how to kind of search around for it. Alright, this Greater Rift Guardian is super tanky. We're going to get squashed, and that's perfectly okay. What you're going to want to do is, really, you got to be careful. You got to wait for your Iron Skin, you got to attack from a distance, wait for Bombardment drop, wait for Iron Skin and Akra to think. You should be able to take it in. That one's a bit harder of a Greater Rift Guardian, but when you get to Greater Rift 75, which is Torment 16 difficulty, you're going to notice that this armor starts to lose a lot of its power when comparing it to Akarat's Champion. That's why if I had to pick 2 Bombardment sets to run, I recommend Akarat's Champion build over this one. Again, I have it in the playlist, so you can check it out. This one's good to just kind of be tanky in the beginning, but you lose out on power. So it's a matter of, like, do you want to be more tanky but not be able to deal more damage, or do you want to be able to do more damage but not be tanky? That's the main differences between these 2 builds. Alright, let's see what the clear time was on that. Clear time, 5 minutes, 34 seconds. With full optimization, we'll probably get down to 3 minutes and be able to bang that one out as well. Alright, guys. As you can see, we're probably going to wrap things up here. And as always, a like on this video is greatly appreciated. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider doing so as it helps the channel grow. And I will see you for the next Diablo 3 video. Till next time.